Hi, this is David Holmes with the Sunday School lesson for the 13th of September. And the lesson is titled Renewal Comes Through Time with God. And the scripture we're going to be reading is Mark 1:21 through 39. So the scene in Mark now shifts to the beginning of Jesus' ministry. If you remember last week, we talked about John the Baptist and calling the first disciples. So now they're in the city of Capernaum. And it's a fishing village at the north end of the Sea of Galilee. And we're going to see two sides of Jesus' ministry: his work preaching and healing, and then retreating for prayer. So we'll start off with Mark 1:21 through 28. They went to Capernaum. When the Sabbath came, Jesus went into the synagogue and began to teach. The people were amazed at his teaching because he taught them as one who had authority, not as the teachers of the law. Just then a man in their synagogue, who was possessed by an impure spirit, cried out, "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." "Be quiet," Jesus said sternly. "Come out of him." The impure spirit shook the man violently and came out of him with a shriek. The people were all so amazed that they asked each other, "Who is this? Or what is this? A new teaching, and with authority. He even gives orders to impure spirits, and they obey him." News about him spread quickly over the whole region of Galilee. So Capernaum was a fairly small town, probably about 1,500 people at the time. And not all small towns had a rabbi, but almost all of them had a synagogue. So in the synagogue, you had the ruler of the synagogue. He was kind of in charge of things. And he would select someone from the congregation to get up and teach. So this is what happened with Jesus, and the people were amazed how he taught, because most teachers would invoke prior rabbis or teachers and remind you of what they had said, and then therefore this is what they mean by that. And Jesus didn't do that. Jesus just said, "Here's the way it is." He taught on his own authority. And he also amazed them by driving a demon out of a man just by commanding it to leave. Normally, what they were used to seeing is, elaborate rituals and that sort of thing. So word about Jesus then spread quickly because he was so different from everything they were used to. So now we'll read Mark 1:29 through 34. As soon as they left the synagogue, they went with James and John to the home of Simon and Andrew. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they immediately told Jesus about her. So he went to her, took her hand, and helped her up. The fever left her, and she began to wait on them. That evening after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all the sick and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak because they knew who he was. So Jesus now is showing his compassionate side, right? As soon as he heard about Andrew's mother-in-law, or Simon's mother-in-law, he went to heal her. And once healed, notice what she did. She immediately resumed her role as the hostess and began serving them. And the lesson points out that when we have been healed by Jesus, in a spiritual way, the correct response is for us then to begin serving. So after the Sabbath ended, since the word had spread, a big crowd showed up at the door, and Jesus continued healing. Note that he was not yet ready to be fully revealed, so he didn't let the demons speak because they would tell who he was. And now we're going to read Mark 1:35 through 39. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him. And when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus replied, "Let us go somewhere else to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he traveled throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and driving out demons. So after the work of Saturday night, Jesus, remember, being fully human, was very likely tired. There are many stories in the New Testament of Jesus retreating to a quiet place to pray. So even he needed time alone. And the lesson points out that he did this first thing in the morning before the distractions of his day began to intrude on his plans. And this is showing us that we need to be putting God first, right? Take care of prayer and God first, and then we can get on with our day. And the lesson concludes by asking us to rate our prayer life from 1 to 5, and then think about what changes we need to make in our lives to be able to spend more time with God.